Toronto FC has transferred midfielder Latif Blessing to the Houston Dynamo for a handful of general allocation money coming back the other way. Honestly, it doesn't matter how much is coming back the other way. It's not that much. The key part is that Latif Blessing is on his way out. Latif Blessing. Few players have been more inconsequential to Toronto FC than this man. 7 appearances in all competitions last season, only 5 in Major League Soccer, 0 this season. Obvious he was not in any part of John Herdman's plans, being shipped out now early in the season. Not much to talk about Latif Blessing. He more so is a prime example to rant about the Bill Manning and Bob Bradley eras, because he in many ways is Bob Bradley's post-mortem signing for Toronto FC. And to explain that, we need a bit of a timeline. June 26, 2023, Toronto FC fires head coach and general manager Bob Bradley 5 days before the transfer deadline opens for the summer. June 27th, Jason Hernandez was promoted from within the club to general manager. July 10th, TFC makes their first incoming transfer of the summer transfer window, bringing in Franco Ibarra on loan from Atlanta. Atlanta had used up too many U22 initiative spots, had to ship a player out who fit that criteria. Franco Ibarra was it, and Ibarra arrived in Toronto FC and immediately started complaining about how he didn't want to be here. 3 days following that unmitigated disaster, Toronto FC trade Mark Anthony Kaye to the New England Revolution for Latif Blessing in a midfielder for midfielder swap. Effectively transferring one past his best, out of form Bob Bradley midfielder for another past his best, out of form Bob Bradley midfielder. The Latif Blessing transfer, from day one, when it came in, I complained about it because he was a Bob Bradley player. Bob Bradley developed him at LAFC, turned him into a starter in MLS, and then once he left Bob Bradley, kind of lost that form. A lot like Mark Anthony Kaye, who had a very similar story. The only part of this move that wouldn't have happened had Bob Bradley still been around was it would not have been Mark Anthony Kaye going out for Latif Blessing. He would have found a way to keep both of them. But Latif Blessing was fully a symptom of TFC in a terrible season, needed to make moves in the summer just to show that they were doing something. Hernandez and specifically Bill Manning had to do moves to show that they were doing something. And all they really had was Bob Bradley's short list of players, which of course would have had Latif Blessing on it because Latif Blessing's a Bob Bradley guy. And so they went and they shipped out a Bob Bradley guy for another Bob Bradley guy. So what that left us with was a Latif Blessing who apparently cost him a lot of money, apparently didn't have his green card anymore, so he took up an international roster spot now, and out of his form, not his best Latif Blessing, and a midfielder whose game style just does not fit in with the game style we need to play with the Italians. Every indicator for this move was that it was not going to turn out well for Toronto FC, and it just perfectly showcases the lack of independent thought that occurs whenever Bill Manning is heavily involved in transfers. No way Jason Hernandez was significantly involved in the moves that happened last summer. He had literally been promoted to general manager 5 days before the window. Bill Manning definitely had a massive hand in all of it. And he just goes and grabs Latif Blessing because Latif Blessing was on Bob Bradley's shortlist. No thought as to why Latif Blessing is on that shortlist. No thought as to if Latif Blessing is a good fit for this Toronto FC team. And we've seen Bill Manning go and pick up the past regime's pieces before. Alejandro Pozuelo is probably the best signing in the Bill Manning era. And he was a player that had been on Bezbachenko's radar for years prior. That was not a Bill Manning original thought. That was a piece from the prior era. And this was just another player that the previous general manager had shortlisted and he just went out and got for the sake of making a move, it looks like. Unsurprisingly, it didn't work out, and I'm honestly shocked that we were able to get rid of him without having to retain any salary or spend anything to get rid of him. That was honestly a great move by Jason Hernandez to be able to pull that off. Dallas fans, if you want to know anything about Latif Blessing, if you're excited to get him and you're watching this video because you want to know about Latif Blessing, I don't know, he played 7 games for us. Like, go watch 2019-2020 LAFC highlights. He was fine back then. He hasn't been for a couple years now, but you know what? Dynamo's a good team. Maybe on a good team, he settles in and actually plays well again. Was never going to happen in Toronto FC. And again, it's just another signing that just didn't make any sense at the time and still doesn't make sense looking back at it. So like in the end, solid piece of business getting rid of a player that it looks like was taking up an international roster spot and it looks like was taking up some significant salary. It's just a move that didn't have to be made because it's a player that we never should have had in the first place. So that is for this video. As always, make sure to hit like if you want to see more of my stuff. Hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Link is down below in the description, and I will see you next time.